Did you know that the ancient Hebraic meaning of the name Hannah, grace and divine favor, shaped the destiny of a woman whose faith transformed ancient Israel? Her remarkable story contains surprising elements that still resonate today. In our exploration of biblical names and their hidden virtues, Hannah stands as a testament to the power of persistent prayer and devoted faith. The etymology of her name offers profound insights into character traits that transcend time, qualities we might wish to cultivate in ourselves and our children in today's complex world. Her legacy contains wisdom that connects ancient virtues with modern challenges in unexpected ways. When we examine the name Hannah, we discover a profound linguistic tapestry that extends far beyond the oversimplified translation of grace found in many modern baby name books. The Hebrew root HNN, Ahan, from which Hannah derives, reveals a multi-dimensional spiritual concept, encompassing both receiving divine blessing and engaging in an active, dynamic relationship with the divine. This root carries the vibrational essence of receiving and extending compassion, suggesting that those who bear this name participate in a sacred cycle of grace. In ancient Hebrew consciousness, names functioned as portals to higher dimensions of being. The root HNN implies an ongoing state of divine favor as sacred responsibility. Those bearing this name were understood to exist within a field of divine benevolence, while serving as conduits through which grace flows outward to others. The letters forming Hannah's name, Hannah, create a harmonious spiritual chord through gematria, the ancient practice of assigning numerical values to letters. The letter H, Chet, carries the value of 8, representing transcendence beyond material limitations. The N, Nun, appears twice with its value of 50, symbolizing divine perspective. The final Ah carries the value of 5, associated with receptivity. Together, these characters form a mathematical formula for spiritual transformation, receiving divine insight and manifesting it in reality. In ancient understanding, names resonated at specific frequencies within collective consciousness. Hannah's name vibrates with compassionate perception, recognizing divine grace even in circumstances of limitation. This quality creates a resonance extending beyond individual identity into collective transformation, with bearers often serving as catalysts for spiritual renewal in their communities. The name's journey across cultural boundaries reveals its universal significance. Like a river maintaining its essence while carving new channels, Hannah transformed into Anna, Anna, Anne, and other variations while preserving its spiritual architecture. This transmigration across cultures indicates a universal recognition of the spiritual principles encoded within the name, transcending particular religious frameworks while maintaining connection to sacred origins. In mystical traditions, names functioned as sacred technologies shaping consciousness. Hannah operates as a spiritual algorithm establishing patterns of perception and relationship with divine reality. Those bearing this name inherit a spiritual calling to receive divine favor and extend compassionate awareness to others. The sophisticated etymology of Hannah reveals a name establishing a spiritual foundation, creating conditions for both receptivity to divine guidance and capacity to manifest this guidance through conscious action. This understanding illuminates why Hannah's biblical namesake transformed personal suffering into spiritual innovation, establishing new patterns of divine relationship that influenced generations. The cosmic blueprint within Hannah's name manifested through a woman who stood at the precipice between personal anguish and prophetic vision. In ancient Israel, a society where a woman's worth was measured by her fertility, Hannah's barrenness functioned as the crucible in which a revolutionary spiritual consciousness was forged. The social stigma made her suffering profound as she endured the daily provocations of Peninnah, her husband's fertile second wife, creating a household atmosphere thick with unspoken judgment and whispered comparisons. Hannah transformed her limitation into spiritual discipline. Year after year, she made the dusty pilgrimage to Shiloh, the scent of sacrifice hanging in the air, the sounds of celebration echoing around her as families gathered with their children. Despite the ache in her heart and the weight of unanswered prayers, her sandaled feet continued their faithful journey. This persistence transcended conventional religious obligation, demonstrating her understanding that spiritual connection exists beyond immediate reward. What might we learn from someone who continues seeking despite repeated disappointment? Hannah's story reaches its pivot point at the temple in Shiloh, where the cool stone floors witnessed her spiritual innovation. Unlike the prescribed formulaic prayers echoing through the temple courts, Hannah initiated a deeply personal, silent communion with the divine. So intense was her internal dialogue that the priest Eli, observing her moving lips without sound, accused her of drunkenness. "I am a woman deeply troubled," she clarified, her voice steady despite her tears. "I have been pouring out my soul before the Lord." This moment marked a paradigm shift from external performance to internal authenticity that would reshape Israel's relationship with the divine. Hannah's insight extended to her understanding of divine-human relationship. Her vow to dedicate her future son demonstrated profound theological awareness. Children are divine gifts entrusted to parents as stewards. Her promise, "I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life," reflected consciousness that recognized fulfillment comes through participation in divine purpose. The son born of her prayer, Samuel, became the prophet who bridged Israel's transition from tribal confederacy to monarchy, anointing both Saul and David as kings. Hannah's private communion generated ripples that altered the nation's destiny. Her song, recorded in 1 Samuel 2:1-10, transcended personal gratitude to articulate theological insights about divine justice that would later inspire Mary's Magnificat. Both prayers celebrate a God who inverts social hierarchies, establishing Hannah as a prototype for spiritual innovation through surrendered consciousness. Hannah's biography reveals the evolutionary purpose within experiences of limitation. Her barrenness functioned as the container for spiritual gestation of a higher order. The principle illustrated through her life suggests our most profound limitations often conceal our greatest opportunities for consciousness transformation. Beneath Hannah's external circumstances lay an internal architecture of virtues that functioned as a spiritual technology, converting personal suffering into prophetic power. This constellation of qualities, developed in the crucible of her barrenness, created the pathway through which divine purpose could manifest in material reality. Her virtues represent universal principles of consciousness that continue to reverberate through spiritual seekers across millennia. Hannah's abounding faith stands as a lighthouse amid stormy seas, a refined spiritual perception transcending conventional religious experience. She cultivated an active spiritual awareness that perceived divine presence even when circumstances suggested absence. This disciplined consciousness recognized higher principles operating beneath the surface of material conditions. Her faith functioned as spiritual sight, perceiving reality through a lens unclouded by immediate circumstances, maintaining connection with divine purpose despite years of apparent rejection. What might we learn from such unwavering perception? The persistent prayer that distinguished Hannah reveals an evolutionary approach to divine communication. Her prayers formed an intimate dialogue that matured through continued engagement. This persistence transformed prayer from ritual into relationship, a dynamic communion evolving through sustained attention. As Dr. Angela Bisignano notes, Hannah's prayer played a crucial role in turning a climate of spiritual darkness into a spiritual awakening. Her persistence established prayer as a leadership capacity that could alter the spiritual atmosphere of an entire culture. Building upon this foundation of persistent communication, Hannah's heavenly mindedness manifested as elevated awareness that perceived spiritual principles beyond immediate challenges. During what scholars identify as a backslidden era, she maintained focus on divine principles rather than cultural degradation. This alignment with higher realities enabled her to recognize the need for spiritual renewal and trust the unfolding divine plan, participating in cosmic purposes rather than being confined to personal desires. From this heightened perspective flowed Hannah's integrity, demonstrated through her promise-keeping and the seamless connection between spiritual intention and material action. Despite the emotional difficulty in surrendering her long-awaited child, Hannah fulfilled her vow completely. This integrity created coherence between inner commitment and outer action, establishing a channel through which divine purposes could flow unimpeded. Finally, Hannah's surrender of Samuel embodies the paradoxical principle that release, not possession, fulfills divine purpose. This act of devotion demonstrated sophisticated spiritual understanding, recognizing that attachment creates limitation while surrender opens channels for expanded influence. By releasing her son, Hannah magnified her maternal impact beyond personal boundaries, extending her influence through generations via Samuel's prophetic leadership. Together, these virtues formed the means through which Hannah transformed her circumstances and Israel's spiritual trajectory. Her example offers practical templates for personal transformation that resonate even today. As we bring our exploration to a close, we witness how Hannah's legacy continues to resonate through time, reflected in the consistent popularity of her name in contemporary culture. Since the late 20th century, Hannah has maintained its position among the top 50 names for girls in the United States, a testament to the enduring appeal of its spiritual essence. Names like Hannah serve as vessels of consciousness, carrying sacred attributes across generations. By choosing this name, parents participate in a spiritual tradition that transcends religious boundaries, inviting timeless virtues of grace and faith into their families. How might Hannah's journey from challenge to transformation illuminate your own spiritual path?